Are the Cowboys seriously exploring blockbuster trades, and could George Pickens, Terence Steele, or Kenny Clark be involved? Trade rumors are heating up fast, and fans are split on what Dallas should actually do. Some see these potential moves as bold swings that could instantly upgrade the roster, while others warn they'd be risky gambles with long-term consequences. Which names are truly on the table, and which are just smoke screens? One detail connecting these trade candidates suggests the Cowboys front office may be thinking far bigger than anyone expected, and it could change everything. Cowboys Nation, take a deep breath, because the Dallas Cowboys rumor mill is officially on fire again, and this time it's not just smoke. It feels like there's real movement behind the scenes. We're talking legit trade chatter, league whispers, front office tension, and names that are making fans either extremely excited or extremely nervous. Today we're diving deep into Cowboys trade rumors and potential trade candidates. And yes, we're talking about George Pickens, Terence Steele, and Kenny Clark, plus what each move would actually mean for the future of this team. Now, before anybody in the comments loses their mind, let me say this clearly: these are not confirmed trades. This is not me saying deals are done. This is about connecting dots, understanding the market, reading the league, and breaking down what makes sense for Dallas right now. Because if you've been paying attention, you already know the Cowboys are at a crossroads. They are not rebuilding, but they are not exactly one move away from a Super Bowl either. That puts them in the most dangerous position in the NFL, the middle. And when teams are stuck in the middle, that's when trades start happening. Let's start with the big name that's got everyone talking: George Pickens. Now listen, the moment George Pickens' name even gets mentioned in trade rumors, Cowboys fans instantly split into two groups. One group says, yes, give me the talent, I don't care about the noise. The other group says, absolutely not, we already have locker room issues. And honestly, both sides have a point. George Pickens is one of the most naturally gifted wide receivers in the NFL. Route running, body control, contested catches, sideline awareness, the talent is undeniable. Turn on the tape and you'll see a guy who can take over games. He's the type of receiver that defensive coordinators have to game plan for. He's also the type of receiver that quarterbacks love when things break down because he can just go get the football. Now imagine him in Dallas. CeeDee Lamb on one side, George Pickens on the other, Jake Ferguson working the middle, Brandon Cooks stretching the field when healthy. That suddenly looks like one of the most dangerous pass-catching groups in the NFC. And that's exactly why this rumor has legs. But here's the flip side, and this is where things get real. George Pickens has had maturity concerns, effort questions, body language issues. There have been moments on tape where he looks disengaged when he's not getting the ball. There have been reports about frustration with offensive schemes and quarterback play. And while some of that can be explained by playing in inconsistent offenses, you cannot ignore the pattern. Now ask yourself this: are the Cowboys the team that should take that risk? This is already a locker room that has dealt with leadership questions, discipline concerns, and moments where things felt fragile when adversity hit. You're talking about a franchise where every single move is under a microscope. Every reaction becomes a headline. Every sideline moment goes viral. If George Pickens gets frustrated in Dallas, it's not going to be quiet. That said, the Cowboys might be exactly the type of high-profile, talent-heavy team that Pickens thrives in if the structure is right. Let's talk about what a trade would actually look like. The Steelers are not a team that just gives talent away. If they move Pickens, it's because they believe the return helps them reset their offense or address another major need. That likely means draft capital. Possibly a second-round pick, maybe a third with conditions. Dallas does have picks, but the question becomes, are you willing to invest that kind of capital into a receiver when you already have CeeDee Lamb on a massive deal? And that's where this rumor gets interesting. Because if Dallas believes the window with Dak Prescott is still open, then you load up now. You don't worry about future flexibility. You worry about winning in the next 2 to 3 years. And adding a high-upside receiver like George Pickens screams all in. But if Dallas is quietly planning for a post-Dak future, then giving up premium picks for a volatile receiver makes a lot less sense. Now let's pivot to a name that might shock some fans: Terence Steele. This one is uncomfortable, but it needs to be talked about. Terence Steele has been a starting right tackle for the Cowboys, and when he's healthy and confident, he can be solid. He's strong in the run game, he battles, and he's earned respect in the locker room. But let's not sugarcoat it, the pass protection inconsistencies have been real, and coming off injury, there have been moments where he's struggled against elite edge rushers. And in today's NFL, tackle play is everything. So why would the Cowboys consider trading Terence Steele? 2 reasons. Number 1, value. Offensive linemen always have value around the league, especially tackles with starting experience. There are teams desperate for offensive line help, and Steele's contract and age make him an interesting target. Number 2, flexibility. Dallas has been quietly retooling the offensive line. Younger players are being developed. There's a clear emphasis on athleticism and versatility. If the Cowboys believe they can get similar production from a cheaper option or a younger player, then moving Steele becomes a business decision, not a personal one. Now here's where it gets spicy. What if Terence Steele isn't just a trade piece, but part of a larger deal? This is where fans need to pay attention. Steele could be used as a sweetener in a trade package. Maybe Dallas attaches him to a draft pick to move up. Maybe he's included in a deal for a defensive player. Maybe he's sent to a team that's willing to give Dallas cap relief and assets. And yes, this is where Kenny Clark enters the conversation. Kenny Clark is one of the most respected defensive tackles in the NFL. A true interior anchor. Strong against the run, disruptive in the pass rush, and a leader on defense. If you're talking about fixing one of the Cowboys' biggest problems, interior defensive line play has to be near the top of the list. For years, Dallas has relied heavily on edge rushers. Micah Parsons is a generational talent. DeMarcus Lawrence is still effective. But when teams run straight at Dallas, when they attack the middle, that's where things get shaky. A guy like Kenny Clark changes that instantly. Now, is Kenny Clark officially on the trade block? Not publicly. But around the league, there's growing belief that the Packers could be open to moving veterans for the right price, especially if they're shifting toward a younger core. And let me tell you this, the Packers and Cowboys doing business would be wild. Fans would lose their minds. But from a football standpoint, it actually makes sense. Dallas gets a proven interior defender who can elevate the entire front seven. The linebackers play freer. The edge rushers get more one-on-ones. The defense becomes more balanced. Kenny Clark doesn't need to put up flashy sack numbers to make a massive impact. Now the cost. This wouldn't be cheap. You're talking about draft picks and possibly a player going the other way. And that's where a name like Terence Steele becomes interesting. The Packers are always looking for offensive line depth. Always. A package centered around picks and alignment could at least get the conversation started. Now imagine this scenario for a second. Dallas trades Terence Steele and draft capital. They bring in Kenny Clark. Suddenly, the defensive identity shifts. Suddenly, stopping the run isn't a weekly question mark. Suddenly, Micah Parsons becomes even more dangerous. But again, this all comes back to philosophy. What are the Cowboys trying to be? Are they trying to win now, no matter the cost? Or are they trying to stay competitive while quietly planning for the future? Because you can't do both forever. Let's talk about how these rumors connect. George Pickens represents offensive firepower and risk. Terence Steele represents flexibility and tough decisions. Kenny Clark represents defensive stability and immediate impact. These aren't random names being thrown around. They fit specific needs and specific timelines. And that's why fans should take these rumors seriously. Now I want to address something important here, because I know someone is going to say it in the comments. Jerry Jones doesn't make big trades. That narrative is outdated. The Cowboys may not trade as frequently as some teams, but when they believe a move pushes them closer to a championship, they are not afraid to act. We've seen it before. The front office has changed. The approach has evolved. This is no longer the Cowboys of 15 years ago. Another thing to consider: the pressure. The pressure on this organization right now is massive. Fans are frustrated. The national media is relentless. The playoff failures are impossible to ignore. At some point, standing still becomes more dangerous than making a bold move. And bold moves come with risk. George Pickens could be a home run or a headache. Kenny Clark could be the missing piece or an expensive short-term fix. Terence Steele could thrive elsewhere or remind Dallas why continuity matters. There are no easy answers here. But that's what makes this moment fascinating. Now let's talk about timing. If a trade happens, it's likely closer to key roster decision points. After evaluations. After medicals. After teams truly understand where they stand. Don't be surprised if rumors intensify and then suddenly boom, a move happens when nobody expects it. That's how the NFL works. One phone call. One desperate team. One front office willing to take a risk. And Dallas is right in the middle of that storm. Cowboys fans need to prepare themselves for change. Whether it's a splashy move like trading for George Pickens, a strategic move involving Terence Steele, or a defensive upgrade like Kenny Clark, something feels different this time. There's urgency. And when urgency meets opportunity, trades happen. Now I want to hear from you. Would you trade for George Pickens knowing the upside and the risk? Would you be willing to move on from Terence Steele if it meant improving another area of the team? Would Kenny Clark be worth the cost to solidify the defense? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more Cowboys news, rumors, and real talk, and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Because trust me, this offseason is just getting started, and the Cowboys are not done making noise. Cowboys Nation, buckle up.